Welcome to Movie Recall. In today's video, we'll be going through the 2021 movie Dark Spell. It's time to recall. Let's get started, turn on subtitles, and spoilers ahead. The movie begins in a dress boutique where we meet Xenia. Xenia is a seamstress and she's working with her client Sonia. Sonia is about to be married and asks Xenia about her wedding, but Xenia admits that she hasn't had one yet. As this goes on, Xenia's daughter Polina starts to cry and fuss. Victor, who is Sonia's fiancé, has been hanging around despite him seeing Sonia is considered bad luck. He steps in to calm down the crying baby. Xenia looks at Victor very gratefully while Sonia comments that Victor is practicing for fatherhood. Later that night, Xenia is alone with Polina and tries calling her boyfriend. When he doesn't answer, she goes to look for him at his studio. Kier is an artist and does sculpting, but unfortunately, she catches Kier with another woman. Upset, she rushes out of there when Kier sees her and berates her for coming into his studio. The next day while at work, Xenia can't help but cry over her boyfriend cheating on her. Her colleague, Kate, notices and expresses concern. Xenia tells her everything, and Kate advises her to act as if nothing has happened so that Kier will continue to love her. At home, Xenia's mother is looking after Polina as Xenia discovers a few sketches Kier has done of the woman Xenia caught him with. This upsets her, but Xenia's mother reprimands her and puts away the sketchbook. Her mother doesn't want her to keep tormenting herself as she can't force Kier to stay with her. But Xenia is too sad and also laments the fact that Polina will be without a father. But again, her mother reminds her not to mourn something that is out of her hand unless she casts a spell to make Kier love her. The next day, Xenia goes to visit Kier's parents' house to find him as he has been avoiding her calls. But Kier's mother doesn't even come out to greet Xenia. She keeps standing on a balcony and makes Xenia feel bad about not knowing Kier's whereabouts. Xenia leaves and finally runs into Kier as he's leaving his studio with his new girlfriend. She asks to talk to him in private and makes one last attempt to make him stay. She tells him that she will not endure him sleeping with other women, but Kier snaps at her, saying he does not want to be with her anymore, and that she does not own him just because they have a baby together. This proves to be the last straw for Xenia, and she lunges at his face. Kier pushes her back and wipes his bloody face with a handkerchief. He throws this at Xenia before walking away, unknowingly giving Xenia the tool to his undoing. Xenia takes the bloodied handkerchief and later goes to see Aza, who is a gypsy. Xenia and Aza talk in her kitchen as she carves meat. Xenia tells the gypsy about her predicament, and Aza asks her if she wants to be with Kier forever. Xenia says yes. She then tells her the way of carrying out the spell. Xenia needs to find two people about to be married whose love is strong for one another, and the spell needs to be cast during a wedding inside a church. Aza also warns Xenia not to trick the spirits because if her and Kier's love is not true or strong enough, the spirits will get angry. Xenia nods her understanding, and then Aza hands her some things that she'll need for the spell. Before Xenia can leave, Aza grabs her hand and slices her palm, before handing a piece of meat to her. She tells her to cast the spell until the meat spoils. Xenia takes the thing and leaves, somewhat creeped out and scared by Aza's words. Some days later, Xenia arrives at Sonia and Victor's wedding to cast her spell. We see a man named Oleg go up to talk to the bride, but Sonia isn't too pleased to see the man, and she leaves him to go inside the church. As the wedding ceremony begins, Xenia sneaks into the attic and lays out everything for the spell. She winds two candles together and then drops some of her blood into the handkerchief, which also has Kier's blood on it. Xenia then proceeds to burn this. Xenia puts the rotten meat inside her mouth and tries not to gag. Downstairs, the wedding ceremony has been completed and everyone is celebrating the newlyweds. As Sonia and Victor walk out of the church, Xenia hurries to leave, but she is not feeling well and collapses in the path of Sonia and Victor. We then see Sonia seated on a hospital chair still in her wedding dress. She is visibly upset about everything when Oleg joins her to comfort her. She thinks that the wedding was bad luck and cries onto his shoulder. Meanwhile, Xenia gains consciousness and sees Victor standing beside her. Victor is a doctor and he talks to her. Xenia feels very bad about ruining their wedding, but Victor tells her to rest and get better. As he leaves Xenia's room, he tries looking for Sonia but doesn't find her. After investigating some noises from a storage room, he discovers Sonia and Oleg locked in a passionate embrace. That night, Xenia wakes up by the window of her room opening. When she gets up to shut it closed, she notices some mud smeared on the sill. She turns around to see Kier standing in her room. He looks disheveled and asks for her forgiveness. Xenia is glad for her spell working and forgives him. Kier carries Xenia out of the hospital that same night, and they go to his studio to spend the night together. In the morning, Kier is struck by Xenia's beauty and asks her to pose for him in the sunlight. She does and smiles at all the attention he is giving her. They then visit Xenia's mom, and Kier boards up a window that broke during last night's storm. Meanwhile, Xenia offers her mother to stay with them until the window gets fixed and goes to get her daughter. When he's alone with Xenia's mother, Kier tells her that she would be disturbing them if she comes to stay, and so she declines Xenia's offer. In the next scene, we see that Kier is trying to sculpt Xenia's likeness and gets frustrated because he can't get it to be as perfect as her. He proposes that he make a mold of her face, but Xenia insists that she has got to get to work. Kier eventually convinces her and covers her face with plaster. When Polina begins to cry, Xenia tries to get to her, but Kier asks her to lie back down. He moves the stroller until the baby stops crying before returning to Xenia. He removes the sheet covering her and proceeds to make love to Xenia, who can't speak or see. At work, Xenia runs into Sonia, who is trying to return her wedding dress. When she sees Xenia, she blames her for Victor leaving her and angrily walks out. Xenia is upset by this encounter and tries to call Eza, but is met with a distorted voice. Just then, she feels a sharp pain in her stomach but gets distracted by a sound behind some racks and walks closer. There, she sees a figure in a wedding dress, hanged and dead. The dead bride suddenly reaches out to grab her, but Xenia backs away, shaken by what she has seen. She returns home and can't find her boyfriend or Polina. She goes to Kier's studio and sees masks of her face littering the whole place. She then finds Polina alone and abandoned in a corner. Just then, Kier comes to her and Xenia confronts him for leaving the baby unattended. She asks him if he even loves them, and he assures her that he does. He complains that Xenia is always busy and wants her to let go of everything that keeps her away from him. Xenia repeats Kier's words to him, saying that she is not his property. Kier says that he loves her and that she's his wife, and she reminds him that she is not. In his anger, he smashes one of the masks, which frightens Xenia. He then apologizes and takes her in his arms. At work, Xenia sees Victor, who has come to see about Sonia's dress. They start talking about what happened when Victor appreciates Xenia's work on the dresses and takes her hands. Suddenly awkward, he walks away, but when Xenia looks down, she sees another pair of hands holding her. She gasps and is hit by another wave of pain in her side. Victor offers to drive her to the hospital, but he is attacked by a jealous Kier. Xenia manages to break them up and explain everything. Kier apologizes and wraps his hand with some gauze Victor gives him. Kier then drives Xenia to dinner at his parents' house, and there, he tries to fix things by proposing to Xenia. Xenia asks for time to think about this, at which Elena laughs. Kier gets angry at her and takes Xenia's side. He then asks his mother for the ring to propose to Xenia with, but his mother refuses, saying that the family heirloom should go to someone worthy. Kier quietly gets up and gets some scissors. He cuts off his mother's finger to get the ring. His father tries to stop him, but Kier beats him up. He then kneels in front of Xenia and puts the ring on her finger. Xenia watches him in fear when his father tackles him and shouts at her to run. But outside, the gate closes before Xenia can reach it. Kier slowly approaches her and asks if she was going to Polina. Xenia asks him if Polina is with her mother, but he doesn't respond. In the next scene, Xenia rushes to Polina, who was yet again left alone in Kier's studio. She picks up her daughter as Kier insists that they only belong to each other. Scared, Xenia starts crying and confesses to casting a spell. Kier pays this no heed and knocks her out. Xenia wakes up in a tub full of plaster to see Kier pouring the same thing onto Polina. Xenia struggles to get out of the bathtub and knocks out Kier. She grabs her baby and makes a run for it. She runs onto the street and almost gets run over. The woman driving the car sees her and offers to help. As Xenia and Polina are driven by the woman, Kier catches up to them on his bike. He pounds on the window of the car, but the woman speeds up. Even then, she is unable to lose Kier, who continues to harass them. Eventually, she drives towards a fork in the road and takes a sharp turn to trick Kier. Xenia gets dropped off at Victor's house, feeling safe that Kier won't find them there. She shares a tender moment with Victor, who rocks a sleeping Polina. The next morning, Victor is met by Sonia in the hospital, who tries to apologize to him, but he doesn't respond and gets in the elevator. There, he recognizes the hand of a covered corpse as Kier's and uncovers it to confirm his suspicions. His co-worker tells him that the man suffered a bad head injury. At home, Xenia is haunted by Kier. When Victor returns, she tells him about this, but Victor tells her that Kier is dead and takes her to the morgue. There, she recognizes Kier and asks for some privacy. As she cries, Kier's body reanimates and pulls her into the drawer with him. Xenia eventually gets out and gets very frightened. Sonia sees Xenia with Victor and confronts them, but Victor tells her that Xenia's boyfriend has died. Victor drives Xenia to Aza's place, and she confesses to the spell on her way. Once there, Aza admits that she doesn't know how to undo the spell, and they use a reluctant Victor to contact the demon. The demon possesses Victor and they ask him what he wants from Xenia, and he replies that he wants her soul as she promised it to him. He then gets violent and almost kills Xenia, but they're saved by Oz's mother. Victor recovers and leaves, refusing to be a part of whatever Xenia has gotten herself into. After that, Oz's mother tells Xenia that she can perhaps trick the demon by performing the spell in reverse and recreating the wedding with the same people. Determined, Xenia goes to a church to reverse the spell. Meanwhile, Victor meets Sonia at the hospital and tells her Xenia's story after admitting that he never truly loved Sonia. Sonia is then attacked by Kier, which changes her mind. At the church, Xenia is attacked but saved by Oz's mother as everyone else arrives. They attempt to reverse the spell and reenact the wedding. Xenia tries to unwind the candles but gets thrown back by an unseen force. As everyone rushes to her, Sonia is possessed by the demon and attacks them. The gypsy tries to get the demon out and eventually they succeed. But when Sonia comes to herself, she speaks in Xenia's mother's voice, who says that Polina is missing. Victor and Xenia return to her house to find a mask. They track the clue to Kier's studio, and Xenia goes off to find Polina as Victor tries to free her mother, whose feet are nailed to the floor. Xenia finds her mother and Polina hiding while the figure posing as her mother is revealed to be Kier, who attacks Victor. To save Victor, Xenia finally agrees to give up her soul and Kier disappears. She comforts Victor and tells him that everything will be okay before drowning herself in a tub of plaster. We then see a vision of an alternate life where Victor and Xenia would have gotten together and raised Polina. But in reality, Xenia walks down the aisle in a black wedding dress as stone figures attend the ceremony. As she reaches the altar, she sees Kier waiting for her, and this is where the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.